Hello there, and welcome back to another one of my videos. I've been away for quite a long time. I think it's about a month now. But Christmas is coming up, and I was ill as well. But I was trying to find something to talk about, and I came across this article saying that four students were stabbed to death in one of their houses, and I was like, how the fucking hell did they get stabbed? All four of them at the same time, and it turned out that all four of these victims were stabbed to death as they're laying in their bed asleep. So I had to go into this. I had to read up about it, and it wasn't recently either. It was 3 weeks ago, but I've only read up about it yesterday. I came across the article yesterday. All four victims were in their bed at the time of the stabbing. Now, even though there were four people that were stabbed and killed, there were six people in the house at the time of the murder. Kaylee and Madison was on the top floor, and Ethan and Zana, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry if it's not. They were on the ground floor, and there was the basement floor as well, where the other two housemates were sleeping. Now, miraculously, the killer didn't go down to the basement, so the two downstairs in the basement, their lives were spared because I don't think the killer knew they were there. Can't believe how horrifying it must be to wake up one morning and go upstairs to see your housemate. There's no one there, you know, and it's weird because you know what time they get up in the morning, you know their daily routine, and when you go upstairs, that routine's not happening. It just feels like the atmosphere's changed. I haven't got a clue what they must have gone through when they found their friends dead in their bed. But anyhow, I'm going to read you something now that I've got, and it says early hours of November on the 13th, four students were killed in a girls' off-campus house at 3 a.m. Murder weapon to believed to be a fixed-bladed knife. The knife is still missing, apparently. It goes on saying it said that the attacker really wanted to kill all four of them, but the motive and the relationship between the killer and the victims is still unknown. It goes on saying, why would you go all that trouble to kill four people if you're upset, angry, or wanted revenge against only one of them? It makes no sense. It continues on another article. It says, at 11:58 a.m., a 911 call from one of the roommates' phone requested help. Which roommate was it? Which one? Um, for an unconscious person. That makes no sense to me because the police have said that there was so much blood everywhere. So you, as a roommate, would go into that bedroom and see all the blood first before the person. You wouldn't notice that unconscious person first. You would notice all the blood. You've seen the picture of the blood coming from the walls from outside. So that's how much blood it was. It was so much blood, the police said it was finding it very hard to gather evidence because it was literally everywhere. So why would you say an unconscious person first? You would see that there would have been a murder, there would have been a killing because there's blood everywhere. That makes no sense to me. But it goes on to saying that the call has not been released, but the police said there were multiple people talking to the 911 dispatcher. Who were they? Was it a male? Was it a female? Could it have been the killer? It doesn't really say. But it's weird because back in October, Kaylee, the one that was stabbed along with Madison, she believed that she was being stalked by two men. She was being followed by these men where she was working, and they also followed her back to her car, apparently. Whether or not this is true, I don't know, but this is what I've been reading up. So it kind of makes sense that might be two killers, because in order to kill four people in that house silently, and some of them, especially Kaylee, had defensive wounds, so they were awake when they was being attacked, and they was trying to fight back. Now, what type of defensive wounds they were, I don't know. But what I'm gonna do now is put a few clips on about the news that was covered in this story because they explain it a lot better than I can.
University of Idaho students were found dead inside their home just off campus, and still very little details have been released about what happened that night. But here's what we know as of this afternoon. On Sunday, just before noon, someone called 911 to report an unconscious person at a home on King Road in Moscow. That's where police found the 4 victims: Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonsalves. We know there were 2 other roommates in the home at the time of the murders, and when police got there, they were not hurt, and police say they are cooperating. Moscow police wouldn't go so far, though, as to call them witnesses. And yesterday, the coroner's office released the autopsies and found all 4 were stabbed to death with a knife early Sunday morning. Police have not found a suspect or suspects and don't have any people of interest right now. An investigative reporter, Morgan Romero, joins us live here on the News at 4. Morgan, I know you've been digging into this. What have you learned?
Yeah, we did learn today, Shira, that the Latah County coroner believes it's likely that at least some of the 4 victims were asleep at the time. She wouldn't specify which of the 4 victims. We also know that this happened in the early morning hours of Sunday. That is confirmed. The coroner tells 7 Investigates bed sheets were taken from the home for testing, but she couldn't speak to any defensive wounds or the specific time of death on Sunday morning. Police put out a clearer picture of the hours leading up to the attack. They released a timeline and the locations of where all 4 victims were before they were murdered at their home on King Road in Moscow.
This horrific attack on 4 college students happened less than a mile from the University of Idaho campus. Sororities and fraternities and their out-of-houses are mostly centralized in this area. New information from Idaho State Police reveals 2 of the victims, Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle, were together Saturday night, November 12th. They went to a Sigma Chi fraternity party across from their home on King Road from 8 to 9 p.m. The other 2 victims, Kaylee Gonsalves and Madison Mogan, were at the Corner Club on Main Street. It's about a mile and a half away from the home on King Road. Police say they were there from around 10 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. After leaving the bar, the girls went to the Grub Truck just down Main Street from the Corner Club. It's about a 6-minute walk. They're seen in a video from the food truck, ordering food around 1:40 Sunday morning. U of I students tell us it's a common weekend routine to go from the Corner Club to the food truck. Idaho State Police says all 4 victims were back at the King Road house, a little more than a mile from the food truck, by 1:45 a.m. Sunday, November 13th. What unfolded after that is unclear. It wasn't until noon on Sunday police received a call of an unconscious person. When they got to the home on King Road, they found the 4 victims, Ethan, Xana, Kaylee, and Maddie, dead. They confirm all 4 were stabbed early Sunday morning. The Latah County coroner tells us all the victims could have been killed with the same knife or a very similar knife. Police say they haven't yet found the weapon.
And during the only and first news conference held earlier this week, reporters asked Moscow police about that video from the food truck that I mentioned. It's circulating all over social media. Moscow Police Chief James Fry says this Twitch video is helping give them the time and space of where Maddie and Kaylee were leading up to their deaths.
Hello. Hi. Welcome back.
In this live stream from the Grub Truck, you see the girls walk into the frame and up to the food truck. It appears they're with a young man, the one in the hat and dark jacket. Here you can see him put his hood on. He hangs back several feet behind the girls as they order from the food truck. He then follows Kaylee and Maddie after they order and stands right next to them. It looks like he never ordered any food, but you can see him talking to other people there. Several minutes later, the girls grab their food, take a picture, laugh and talk to each other, and quickly walk away. One of the people the young man is talking to points out that the girls left. He throws up his hand, waits a moment, and then appears to walk after them. You see him wave at the girls and then walk a separate direction. This recording shows all 3 are at the food truck for about 10 minutes, and police say Kaylee and Madison were home just minutes later, by about 1:45. Their home is a little more than a mile from the Grub Truck. A University of Idaho student who says he's friends with the victims told us this young man was with the girls at the Corner Club before this. ISP says authorities contacted the young man in the video, and they interviewed him as part of the investigation. They are not labeling him as a suspect or person of interest at this time.
Now, this guy here had my alarm bells ringing. The way he just follows them backwards and forwards, maybe this is one of her stalkers. Okay, I know there was 2 of them, but maybe this one here is following them around and then rings the other one saying that they're on their way back to the house. Because the police and the investigators have said nothing about forced entry. It's like they walked in there and walked out. Now, if you look at the front door, it has a number lock, so they won't be able to get through there. They would be able to get round the back where the patio doors are. Now, quite a lot of residents in that area have the tendency to leave their doors open and unlocked. And maybe the killer or killers just walk straight in. Who knows? This is just me speculating, but it's just weird how they can just walk in there and walk out.
All this, Kaylee's mom on the suspects. Then I want your thoughts on this.
I just feel like there's been a couple individuals that were cleared very fast. That may not, maybe he shouldn't have been. And yeah.
She had the strong alibi.
Just really fast.
If you can dismiss.
An hour later, and we're like, what?
That was in the interview with Brian. The mom frustrated by the police clearing people very quickly. What do you make of it?
Well, I mean, within the first week, there were so many people being cleared, all while we were waiting for maybe a person of interest that never came. But every person that had been raised in this story was cleared lightning fast. And one of them was a very suspicious character that was spotted on camera at the food truck. And the reason he was suspicious is because he was lingering. He wasn't there to buy food, didn't appear that he bought any. He stood behind the girls while they were paying and ordering. And then he even moved the 10 to 15 feet when they shuffled 10 to 15 feet and waited 10 more minutes to get their food, all the while watching them, but not doing anything else. And then as soon as those girls turned to leave, he was right on their tail leaving as well. So, that raised a lot of suspicion, Dan. And then to have him cleared so quickly, Kaylee's father is very upset because he's hearing that that person did not give DNA and also may be out of the country by this point. So these are things that I think as a family you would be very upset by, certainly in the absence of any other solid information coming their way.
Now, recently I found out something that made me think they might have been two killers. Because at this point here, after I've seen this layout of this house, I think, one person could creep into each of these rooms, put their hand over their mouth and stab them and keep it silent, because Madison and Kaylee sleep literally next door to each other, so they could hear each other scream, but they didn't. So this is the reason why I thought the killer might have put their hand over their mouths and stabbed them and kept it quiet. And then the second they go down to the second floor where Ethan and Zana is, they share a bed. So it's very hard to kill one and not wake up the other. So maybe there was two? Now, this reporter said something that changed my mind completely. There has to be two killers. Take a listen.
But what I found interesting, though, Tammy, I just want to say real quick,
30 seconds.
Those two girls were in the same bed together, and they're saying that they had different manners of death. So that's very interesting.
Well, and
were in the same bed together.
That's right. Kaylee and Madison were staying in the same bed that night. Kaylee was not in her room. She came home from the food store or the food truck with Madison, and they both went upstairs to Madison's room. They probably ate their food and fell asleep together. Now, what you've heard is that Kaylee had defensive wounds. So she fought back. But then again, you would have thought they both would have fought back against one killer. Not if there were two. Two killers probably went into that room. Each killer took their own victim. Kaylee must have woke up, saw her friend getting killed, and realised she was getting stabbed too, and she fought back.
4 University of Idaho students were killed in cold blood while they slept. Police still have not found their killer, but now the father of one of the victims, Kaylee Gonzalez, says that the manners of death for his daughter and her best friend Maddie were different. Christina Coleman now is live in Moscow, Idaho. Christina.
Hi, yes, the parents are desperate for answers. The Latah County coroner confirmed the cause and manner of death for the 4 murdered students as homicide by stabbing. And last night on Lawrence Jones Cross Country, Lawrence noted that there were differences in the way that Kaylee Gonzalez and Madison Mogan were killed per his sources, and Kaylee's father confirmed that. And again, Kaylee's parents believe the community should have more details on this case.
Their points of damage don't match. I'm just gonna say it. It wasn't leaked to me. I earned that. I paid for that funeral. I paid for that. It's my right. You ain't taking that from me.
Calm down.
If you don't want to say nothing, that's your bet. But don't say I'm leaking anything. I paid that bill.
The parents clearly frustrated, and police maintain that they are not releasing some information on this case because they say they do not want to compromise the investigation. Back to you.
Well, that's just heartbreaking. Christina, thank you very much. I want to immediately play another clip from the father. Let's listen to this.
So I'm using logic that he chose to go up there when he didn't have to. And I can kind of tell by my daughter's texts, messages. She did call 911. She wasn't saying anything along the lines of like she had heard something or she was in fear. So I'm just putting the dots together.
Yeah, Griff, this is one of the huge problems with this story. One, it terrifies every American. It terrifies every family as schools begin again. And yet now, and the parents, as we're learning, are as frustrated. It's as though we would have presumed the parents or the families would have known more than the American public. That seems to not be the case.
Now, this is the reason why I believe there are 2 killers in this murder case. Now, I could be completely wrong. One guy could have gone in there, killed 2 people in one bed, gone downstairs or down the floor and kill another 2 people in the same bed and walk out. That could happen. But the chances of it being 2 people for me is a lot higher. Because one killer could be on one side of the bed, the next killer could be on the other side of the bed. They give each other the go ahead and off they go stabbing. Now, they believe that Kaylee was the prime target. So because Madison was in the same bed, they had to kill both of them because, witnesses. So as they was going downstairs, they came across another bedroom with Ethan and Zana. So they had to probably dispose of them as well because, again, witnesses. But what they didn't know, there were 2 more housemates downstairs in the basement. The lucky 2 that got away. The 2 killers, or 1 killer, could have just walked out and not noticed 2 more people were in that house. And thank God they didn't notice, because we would be having a story of 6 people being stabbed in their beds instead of 4. Now, the killer has not been caught. The killer is still, after 3, almost 4 weeks, at large. And it could be anywhere. It could be in a completely different country by now. It could be in a completely different state. It could be absolute anywhere. But I hope they find this son of a bitch, because he should be executed for this. Both of them. I personally believe there's 2 of them. But, if there's one, there's one. Anyway, I just want to leave it here because I've gone on a little bit too long. To Ethan, Zana, Kaylee and Madison, rest in peace. I'm sorry this happened to you. I'm sorry that your family and friends have to go through this too. And let's bring this killer in. If it's 1, like I said, it's 1. If it's 2, bring them both in. Give them what they deserve. They're still out there. People know who did this. There's got to be some information out there. Okay? Only time will tell. So yeah, I'm going to leave it here. Thank you very much for watching. Again, if you got this far, thank you very much. If you want to subscribe, if you want to leave a comment, because I know quite a lot of people are leaving comments on my YouTube channel and my BitChute channel. So yeah, leave a comment. Tell me what you think downstairs. What's your opinion? Do you think there's 1 killer? Do you think there's 2? Some speculations say that it's the 2 roommates that quote found them in the morning, but that's just speculation. It is what it is at the moment. The killer's still out there. The murder weapon's not been found. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again next time.